Welcome to the Noface Show.
Good. All right, let's get started. I want to talk about a little bit about like the background of Noface Records, right? I want to introduce a little bit of what Noface Records is. Some people might know, some people might not know how Noface Records came about. So Max, you know, when you started Noface Records, you mentioned how you were signed to Armada, but like how did Noface come about? Like what was the idea behind it, and how did it happen?
So, for those of you guys that know my background, I obviously worked with Size for about maybe like 6 years, I want to say, possibly longer.
Size Records was owned by Steve Angelo, right?
Yeah, so it was started by Steve Angelo from the Swedish House Mafia, and I worked with them for a long time. I started with Chris Lake first, and I signed with Size, and I stayed with them for up until Noface, and then as a musician, I think you see a lot of the musicians, you see, all the major guys in the game. You reach a certain point where you're ready to kind of start your own community, and it was time for me to start Noface Records. It was a bit complicated because I felt super weird at the time, even talking about it when we had conversations with like Antoine and Steve and stuff. Like there was, nothing negative about it, but the thing is, like, you feel like that next step needs to happen, but at the same time, you don't know how it feels to the other people and whatnot. So I had a meeting with Armada in Miami because I didn't, God forbid, start a label without some kind of like proper support. So they said, we'd love to have you, obviously, and we launched Noface Records together with Armada, and that was a really healthy relationship we had for about 2 to 3 years.
It began as like a sub-label from Armada, right?
Yeah, correct. So yeah, it was a sub-label from Armada, and we at the time had a management group also with Noface, and we signed. We actually, I feel kind of proud to say that, Corey James, Will K, those guys are both, I kind of, me and my management team kind of discovered them at the beginning of their careers, signed them, so they were kind of like the face of Noface initially. Then we had Laid Back Luke, and then after a while we had I wanted to do bigger things. Like I wanted to focus on signing more artists that might not be big enough to be on a certain platform and whatnot. It's a lot of labels, they play a strategic game, of course. So it's really difficult to push experimental records when you don't have numbers as a producer, so and that's totally understandable. That's why a lot of labels are not like Noface. They don't sign up and coming guys because they don't have the numbers, essentially. So yeah, so we launched Noface. We kind of fired everybody, essentially. Like I got rid of my management, my booking agencies. I felt like it was like some old garbage, not from the Armada standpoint. I'm talking about from my personal side of things. It was just like so much. Like, when you have a toothbrush and then you're brushing your teeth one day and it kind of smells, and you look at it and you're like, I don't even know how old this toothbrush is, you know what I mean? And then you finally throw it in the garbage can. You don't even finish brushing your teeth. You just go to the store and buy a new one, you know what I mean? That's literally what I did, So when we relaunched Noface with Dennis, it was actually his idea to be like, if we're gonna do the label again, it's gotta be different. It's gotta be all different. Like the whole infrastructure of the labels needs to be completely different. Like we need to erase the entire mindset of how it was done before and do something new. And educational side of things, honestly, really kind of saved our ass as a label, because we're like, well, why don't we like help people? You know what I mean? Like who help? Like nobody helps in this industry. Yeah. It's always like, oh, don't reveal this setting on compression, or God knows they know this or that, or blah blah. And we just started like dumping all this information, and people were like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what the hell? Like we were revealing so many emails and all this shit. We were like, we were like the bad guys, you know what I mean?
And we have a section in this podcast called the secret sauce, so we are going to be giving away some of that sauce that Max is talking about for sure
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, exactly. And people were like, started to like even like, they're like, yo, is this even legal what you guys are doing? And we were like, we don't know. And then ever since, I mean, the rest is history. And when we started Noface, like when we relaunched it, Dennis was like, we need to have consistent releases. He's like, can we have a release a month? Like straight up, he asked me. And I was like, shit, I mean, I can have a release every 2 months, I guess, as Max Vangeli. And then, you know, I don't know, we'll see, because, you know, we're obviously like not with Armada anymore, so we don't know what kind of traction we're even getting anymore. And we kind of relaunched this, and now we're doing 3 releases a week. Okay, so that's like a year and a half later, yeah. And we can do probably more. Now we're launching a sub-label that's called The Box, which is going to be more underground. And yeah, I mean, dude, it's been crazy. And then now we're talking about doing shows and things like that. So it's been really interesting.